All right, and hey, this is episode 370, being recorded on September 10th of 2019. This is the raw version of the show, and then where we're with all the flubs and whatever, and then we'll go ahead and clean it up, and we'll get it out as an edited podcast tomorrow. The YouTube raw version will also go out today, as soon as we are done here. All right, let me make sure this looks right. Yep. Looks like the stream started up okay. I've already tweeted it out. Let me go ahead and retweet it, though, on my personal account. I always like to do that if I have a chance. Looks like Doc needs a second to get ready. And then we will be going. Let's see.
All right, are you still getting my sound chill?
I hear you, yes.
Good.
Okay. Let's see. Make sure I don't. Will that work? Just trying something because I'm still at a point where no, okay, that won't shrink down anymore. I'm trying different web sizes with the new Discord. All right, let's just do it this way. We'll just plop it right over. And I'll just deal with that. Okay. And do you need time to get the mind trap in?
I will grab that right now.
Okay. I'll give you a few seconds and then I'll get us going. It's funny how just one thing changes and I feel like I have to redo practically the whole show, or you know what I mean. It's it just feels very different doing it on Discord instead of the old Hangouts.
Oh yeah,
I miss the Hangouts too. So, but yeah, Discord's pretty decent. It actually looks pretty nice too because it has the nice. It's the pictures are side by side, and it has some nice. It just has black bars to sort of fill in the gaps, and it just looks very clean. But okay,
yeah.
If you're ready, I'm ready.
I'm just closing up all the empty space.
Okay.
Okay.
To fill in the empty spaces. It's a Pink Floyd reference. All right. All right, I'm gonna have a little water and then we'll go in 5. Hi, and welcome to the OotiniCast, the podcast that feels great about this plan. This is episode 370, being recorded on Tuesday, September 10th, 2019. I'm your host, Chill, and with me is my co-host, Dr SWTOR. Hey, Doc.
I'm so excited to make more content with you. I can't wait to complain about it.
Yeah, there we go. What you been up to in game? And in
All
life?
Right, so what I've been trying to do is I've been trying to beat bosses that I've never beaten before, which is the exact same thing I'm always doing.
Mm-hmm.
But I also created my Annihilation Marauder because we have a Marauder on our raid team that it's Marcus, working class nerds, and he plays Carnage, and I can't have intelligent conversations with him about raiding because I don't play Marauder. But I also think that I have a hunch that he needs to learn how to play Annihilation. So in order to facilitate that, I'm kind of doing how Vader in Return of the Jedi is like, well, if you're not going to turn, then perhaps she will. So I'm kind of doing that. Like, if you won't learn Annihilation Marauder, I will learn Annihilation Marauder and force you to play Annihilation Marauder. So that's in the pipeline for maybe a raid change for our group once 6.0 hits. And it's just something that I can do by myself when I don't have an opportunity to raid.
Oh, that's cool.
And I've never had a female Marauder character before, so
Oh, that's cool too. Yeah.
It's a little bit different feel for what the character is like and what she's trying to do. And I took Jaisa on the dark side route this time, so that's different than what I'm used to when I play a Sith warrior.
She gets way into it, doesn't she?
Well, I'm level 52, so I'm still in chapter 1 of the class story. So
oh wow, why is that? What are you doing? Like every side mission and every
no,
everything?
just I'm wearing the dark versus light armor set, and I'm playing with the EXP boost that they drop on you. And I do every set of heroics on the planet before I leave the planet the first time I get there. So just so that I can get the blue gear for the left side of my tune. And pretty soon I'm going to start getting the crates that drop that you have to turn in on Odessin. So that's not going to work anymore as my strategy, and I'll probably still have 6 or 7 planets left. So that's been something I've been doing by myself. And on the raid side, I'm still working on the same things as last episode of OotiniCast. I got into some polls on hard mode Underlurker in Temple of Sacrifice a couple weeks ago. And so we're working to get back there and win that fight and move on with the op. And then we're still plugging away at Nightmare Brontis. And that boss has convinced me that I don't want to be insane. So we're not beating it with me playing Lightning Sorcerer. So this week I'm going to play Madness. I played Madness on Sunday. It went really well. But we were doing Temple of Sacrifice. So I'm just, trying to solve the puzzle. We're getting closer in some ways, and it's frustrating sometimes. So before we get to you, Chill, who's with us today?
All right. Well, we're recording at an unusual time. Let's see. You know what? The list is not actually updated, so it's still showing. Let me go ahead and load the whole page. Let's see if it forces it to. No. Okay. I'll do a shout out later after it updates. I know that Dekion, Marcus, Arjar, 24, Brittany. I saw a bunch of good folks there, but for whatever reason the little list isn't coming up. So we'll have to try that later. Let's get we'll get on to my week then. The Elastigirl cosplay, the Shadow Jedi, going along great. I'm actually most of the way through Rishi, and just ding 70. Did it right shortly before the show actually. So plenty of room to level up through CXP while I get towards 300, because there's a lot to do from Rishi. There's Yavin, there's Zyos, Kotfi, Kotet, Osis, the Traders Trilogy, all that stuff. So that was pretty good. I'm sort of doing it the way you are, except I didn't bother with the heroics, but I do have like the dark light leveling gear and the double XP just to make it go faster. It's like I didn't feel like having to slog through any of the content. I wanted it to go relatively easy. So so there was a weird thing that happened when I was on Rishi. When you're going after the Nova Blades, it's that mission where you are going to mark some of the things for Jakaro to explode from above in his ship, and I was shadow striding to one of the silvers, the difficult guys in there, not the gold stars, but the silvers in there. And he happened to cast one of those search droids. For whatever reason, it's like one of the only places in the game where like people are like sending out little search droids. And for whatever reason, it like, and because I tried to make it happen again and it didn't. So when I shadow strode to him though, he cast the little droid, and it flipped my character out of the way in a very bizarre way, like to way off to the right where there's like a ship kind of nearby, and I ended up on the top of this ship where you can't normally even get to.
Oh, so he like boosted you up.
Yeah, exactly. It was very bizarre. This isn't even like a game that, I mean, SWTOR doesn't really even use physics that way normally. You know what I mean? It's like you don't like have like abilities that where you like hit something and then they bounce off of your off of your fist or something. But yeah, for whatever reason, I just boinged off of this droid while I shadow strode, and it put me on top of this ship nearby. And then I realized I couldn't get up here normally, so I decided what else could I do with this. So I jumped up and I got on top of the waterfall nearby, which you also apparently can't really get to. And I took some screenshots. It's in the show notes. And you can even see the ship that it bopped me to the top of. And it was very bizarre. I'd never seen that happen. I tried it. I waited out the cooldowns, shadow strode again, but I guess he didn't, cast the little droid at the right time or something. But whatever. Yeah, that was really interesting. I had no idea that something like that could even happen in the game. But yeah, it was a weird, I guess you could call it a bug, although it wasn't detrimental really. It was more fun than anything. Yeah. I also did get on to the test server, the PTS, and I, per Eric Musco's, that was one of his suggestions. I ran Hammer Station multiple times, just soloed it, just like he did on that stream. The stream they did was right after our last show. We're gonna touch on their stream, but it's the news is a little old now, but we'll touch on it later in the show in the news. But I did take it, his request that people run Hammer Station just to see how the gearing was working, and it was pretty interesting. I did like how it's essentially like reverse engineering, only you do get crew skills materials out of it, but you also get the tech shards and stuff like that you can then turn in for a possibility of better gear as well. So overall, I thought it was really interesting. I liked how you can tweak some of the little mini buffs on it. How how the drops are sort of like geared to what you're wearing right now, so they tend to be side grades, but sometimes they're an upgrade.
Ugh, you said it.
Yes, I know. I saw your tweet. Yeah, side grades is your new pet peeve, isn't it?
Yeah. Man.
Well, there's going to be a lot of side grading, I'm afraid, because if they don't do that, then everyone's just gonna power level their gearing. If you get a slight upgrade every time you get a piece of gear dropped somewhere in the world or whatever, it's just gonna go too fast. So there's definitely side grading going on.
I'll let you stand on that hill right now, Chill. But we're gonna clash later. You.
I like seeing. I saw Kai Zyken. This was a while ago. It was just after Labor Day. So it was midweek. So Kai Zyken wasn't active at that time, unfortunately. But I did get to see him on the fleet, and you talk to him and stuff like that. But he wasn't actually active in terms of actually being able to buy something off of him. But the other vendor was, and you could actually you could take your little tech shards and go there and turn them in for a random piece of gear from you can either get a slot specific one, but still random, you don't know what you're going to get, or just a generic random piece of gear, which I thought was interesting too. I don't know what would be more efficient. The truly generic one that could be any slot costs a little more, but I didn't know if there was any other benefit to it. But I thought that was kind of cool. And what else about that? Well, we can talk about a little bit more about that during the news. But yeah, I've been really enjoying leveling. It's kind of convincing me that I think the shadow is kind of the way to go for me. In terms of finding a main, just because I've been alting so long, that the fact that I like this spec well enough to have, first of all, very recently played it all the to 300 on a character who's already 70, and then leveling one from 1 to 70, and then continuing the story on a shadow makes me feel that I can actually roll with this character. So pretty happy about that. Yeah, and that was about it. I'm hoping that there'll be some more interesting stuff going on. We know that the PTS is actually still ongoing. They just let us know that phase 2 is going to be still going for a while. So if you're interested in the PTS but you haven't done it, the phase 2 is the one that has the achievement or connected to it. So if you run Hammer Station, or if you do any Operation Flashpoint, I think War Zones as well, 5 times, then you get the special little crazy little rocket log mount from which, if you've seen the stream, is hilarious.
Right, it's like a mount that doesn't work.
Exactly. Right? It goes. It's slower than walking, but it's hilarious, and it's a lot of fun too. So it's basically Kai Zyken's log mount, unparalleled log mount, which is the resting thing. It's like a toy that lets you get your rest and recuperation ability going instead. But it's basically kind of like that, only Kai Zyken has apparently strapped some rockets to the back of it, but it doesn't work very well. So you actually move really, really slowly, and then sometimes you kind of lurch forward, and then you kind of go even slower. So, yeah, if you've ever played, the Warcraft back in the day, there was this really hard to get turtle mount that actually moved at like walking speed, like slower than you would with any other mount, and also slower than just like running around. But because it was kind of rare and hard to get, it was kind of cool. So people would actually try to get it as best they could.
So what you're saying is that there is a desire to be rare and ineffective.
Yes.
As opposed to common and useful.
That's right. Absolutely.
All right. I'm glad we established that, Chill.
Yeah, so I did get that achievement. I should be getting the unparalleled log mount, as far as I know. It seems to be ready to go for me. So I'm looking forward to seeing that in the expansion. It's gonna be hilarious. It's gonna be hilarious. Yeah, and let's see. Let's get on to the tip of the week, and we do have a tip from Magsol. And Magsol writes, "Hello, everyone. I have attached a GIF for my tip of the week. There is a link to it, but it's in the show notes. But I think you'll have to kind of like copy and paste it. I'm not sure how well it's going to work, but the description is pretty decent anyway, so it's all good. To help illustrate the step. But the message is as follows. Hello, everyone. Thanks for all the work you put into keeping the show going and keeping us updated and entertained. My tip of the week comes from noticing that pesky social bar in the top left corner, spoiling otherwise wonderful cinematic screenshots and or videos. If you tap Escape, go to Preferences, and then click Key Bindings tab, you'll find at the very top of the Miscellaneous section, it's Toggle User Interface. Simply choose a non-intrusive key and use it to quickly disable and enable your UI before a cinematic for that awesome Vista shot. And also you can still use your number keys for dialogue choices, even with the interface hidden, which is kind of cool, because I wasn't 100% sure of that. Yeah. And Megasol says it's not included in the GIF above, but that is part of the tip. So yeah, very cool. So yeah, even if your UI is inactive, if you may not be able to read the options, but usually 1 is kind of light side, 2 is kind of neutral, and 3 is dark. Or if there's only 2, it's usually light and dark. So you can probably get away with it that way.
Is that the same key input as Control U?
I think it
also makes everything disappear.
I think that's sort of the old usual standard, yeah. But I don't know if it still defaults that, because I've long since bound it to another key that I then use. So
that makes a lot of sense. I've never thought of binding it to a single key. That makes it a lot easier to do.
Yeah, and then also like I said, actually using it in the cutscenes, which tend to be more cinematic, more attractive. Sometimes they show things that you don't really see in the actual game. So so it's really nice. All right, so congratulations, Magsol. You're the winner of a Tonfon or M83R Droid Pet Code courtesy of BioWare and a new OotiniCast provided Cartel Market Pack from the latest shipment. And if you'd like a chance to win the same, please send your tips to OotiniCast@gmail.com before the next show. And that brings us to the Jedi Mind Trap. Doc?
Yeah, so the thing that's been on my mind is we complained so much about the PTS that BioWare had to change the PTS. So I guess good job, everyone. The parenting side of me is just so defeated by that. But the person who wants to enjoy Star Wars The Old Republic is elated because honestly, what I was reading about Spoils of War, it did seem like the goal is to make the game feel like 5.0 again, but with a lot more levels to it. So that, as a person who every time there's a new turn at RNG, my first set bonus piece in the 5.0 era was when I hit command level 43. And it's really demoralizing when you finally get your boots and there's this person on the fleet who's command rank 12 and says they're at the 4-piece set bonus already. So
right.
Now that was 2 years ago. And so what we're seeing with Spoils of War so far is that you have all these different rules that lead to playing and playing and playing and really lacking control over your own destiny based on how well you play. It's just play a lot and you might get some stuff. So that works really well if your plan with Star Wars The Old Republic is to play a lot and you hope that you get some stuff. But once you get the gear, there are actually things in the game that you try to do with the gear. And so that's where the debate has arisen is, what really is the function of collecting gear this way? It's sort of like saying having a laptop is the same as turning in a research paper. Well, no, it's not. Having a laptop is very helpful for doing a research paper, but you still have to have the skill to do the research paper. Now, that might be weird, but remember, I'm a grad school teacher and I just can't escape the parallels that I see in the study habits we have with our game. So my mind trap this week was regarding the 6.0 PTS. What really are you doing? And it's a standard plus minus minus setup to a question.
Sure.
Because there's two columns and 2 rows, and we're just seeing which kind of person are you. So the options are: I played on the PTS and I liked it, feel positive about it. I played on the PTS and my overall behavior since that point in time is complaining a lot. I did not play on the PTS and enjoyed it, and I'm more or less, or I'm not playing on the PTS, and it is what it is, and I'm pretty much ignoring it. You're not going to get me there, but I'm not spending my time complaining either. And then there's I'm not going on the PTS. It sounds terrible, and hear me complain. So, Chill, what have you been able to get on the PTS, and what's that been like for you, if you have? Or
right. Well, yeah, I did in fact go on the PTS. Did the Hammer Station 5 times and all that, and I enjoyed it. Now, it's not to say that it was free of bugs, and it was in fact I put in multiple bug reports. There's some UI issues. There's some a lot of issues regarding like the new the new gear basically and how it drops. But I enjoyed the process, and I enjoyed seeing how it was coming together. There's still a long way to go. There's a lot of features that are still coming that aren't fully there yet.
Right.
But I enjoyed the process. So yeah, that's the one I chose this time.
So played it and enjoyed it. So
yeah.
You're part of the 18% that are content to enjoy the game. So that's really nice. And so to run down the results, we had 95 people vote today, which is really awesome. Thanks to everyone who retweeted it and took the time to get into some conversation with me about it. It was really fun, part of my early afternoon and morning. So 31% of the people who voted have played the PTS and are pouring their energy into complaining, which is fine. I tried to support some people earlier today. I talked with Zamzam on Twitter about some of the very thorough perspective that she's been sharing. And it's important for BioWare to get that information from people who have played on the PTS. Okay. So it's sort of that whole thing where you don't want to be negative, but if something's broken, you don't say anything about it. Or if something is specifically going to alter the way that you play and you're not sure what kind of enjoyment experience you're going to get out of it, then I think this is the time to talk about it, because this is not the live version of the game. There might be some tweaks and changes, and your voice might actually go into a pile of 1,000 voices. You don't know. The third option, no PTS for me, but it is what it is. That's the leading group, 44%. So that leads me to believe that a lot of people just don't want to set time aside to do the PTS, and they're not getting up in arms over a part of the game that's not real yet.
Right.
So that's 44% of our voters feel this way.
I definitely find myself, for instance, like heavily motivated by the fact that there was an achievement to get on the test server, and I just, because it's hard for me to get excited about playing a game when I know that every second that I spend in there is just going to go wiped away, and it'll go into the void. But if there's an achievement that rolls over to the live servers, hey, I'm there. So
yeah.
And of course, that number 44% would be way higher if it was somehow not a self-selected sample, for a Twitter poll, but in terms of like just the broad player base, we know that that's going to be way more than 44%. But in terms of who chose to respond to the poll, even that is higher than the other ones, which tells you that a lot of people do feel that way.
Yeah, the number of votes that we've been getting, I think it does show that there are some people outside of our live audience that are paying attention to different people in the community. So, I think it is important to note that most people who play this game have no idea who I am. And so they're not going to end up voting on my poll unless things get retweeted from a very large source. Like the @SWTOR account would be nice. Let's start a petition. Okay. The last option, though, is one that I think is really interesting, because I sort of fall into this fourth category. I've downloaded the PTS. I've gotten to my character. He's standing on Odessin. I've figured out where Volt Rush will probably go on my bar. But I haven't done any content. And most of that is because I just have not been available outside of work during times when things are happening that are large group oriented kinds of things, like 8 people or even flashpoints. I haven't been able to fit it in. I haven't been able to fit my social people into my schedule. So I feel sad that I have some complaints. I just feel like 5.0 was so bad. And, maybe the first iteration of this PTS was designed to remind us of, hey, even if you don't like the live version, remember how bad it was? So maybe it was like a April Fool's joke. Like, we're never putting this into the live game, but this is absolutely the worst system we could have created. So play with that for 2 weeks. So I don't know.
What aspects of 5.0 did you find particularly irksome then?
Well, bosses do not drop gear, right? So you can't build your team around bosses that you are capable of beating. And then you're not guaranteed to get gear that is helpful for you. And I know they're changing this so that we'll have a toggle so that you can pick which spec you're collecting gear for. I think that'll be really good. But in the first version of this, I'm actually incentivized. Like, let's say that the gear rating I'm at is 268 and I'm trying to get to 270. If I want 270 gear as a DPS sorcerer, if I get a tank earpiece that's 268, I'm encouraged to wear that. So now I have defense and absorb rating for a character who needs to be working on critical and alacrity and maybe accuracy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's a mistake. I think that the whole idea of have full 14 out of 14 before there's even a chance of the next number up dropping is a strange decision. Because right now we're fully invested in a system where until you reach command level 90, you could get 230. You'll get a lot of 228.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe some blues. Some of them will be greens, I think.
Right.
And
you can occasionally get gold 232s, but they're pretty rare. Yeah.
Right. And so then the next level, once you hit 91, you have a chance of doing 236, blue 234. And I just don't understand the decision to roll back into something that's less rewarding. And the whole idea of side grades just makes me want to cringe. So, I'm not going to get a dopamine rush from a implant where the red number is green and the green number is red.
Right.
I'm just going to disintegrate it. Especially if I'm not working on the final tier of gear, I'm going to look at this like the overall number is all I care about, because this gear is not actually useful for me. And so that's what happens if you're talking to players who their goal is not to win the story mode ops. It's sort of like you're asking us to play a very long time before the rewards even matter for our play style, which is, I guess, fine. We're entering in a new era, but I just hope that when it goes live, it's sensible. And I do feel joy playing the game, because Osis almost destroyed my psychology. Like, I was so angry in January. And so that's my complaint. It's more, I'm afraid. Like, I'm really afraid of how much I'm going to enjoy this game. And I hope I get on the PTS once they add some more of these bumps into the system that will help it feel more organized. And because I don't want to complain. I'm just kind of having my own therapy here, chill, but I want to enjoy the game.
Right.
And I don't want to be stuck playing lots of story mode EV and KP because everything else is going to stop us. And I don't think it'll be that bad, but I'm just worried. So let's get to the holo feed and move along. And I'll be thinking about the next poll.
All right. Well, we are going to touch briefly on the live stream that they did shortly after our last episode. And basically, it was a lot of talking about, what was going on with the PTS and so on. Let's see. But mostly I wanted to talk about it because how it jived with what I saw on the PTS. So, they did wipe, the anything that you did from phase 1. So already, any characters that you had in phase 1 are already gone. They actually wanted you to transfer over characters, for the phase 2. You have to be a subscriber to be on the PTS. There are no other requirements. Though it does require a download of the full PTS version of the game, so it's it's more than 20 gigs. It's a big chunk. And yeah, so basically that's when he talked about the 5 flashpoints and the Kaizeikens, Mark 85 log mount, which again is going to be hilarious, and I'm going to love seeing that on people doing that on the fleet. That's going to be a lot of fun. They're the tech fragments, the vendors now on the fleet. Like I say, Kaizaiken is on there as well. He wasn't active at the time that I was on, but I'm looking forward to seeing that at some point. When whatever you have for command points are going to be going away. They're not going to be. He's not sure what they'll be turning into, whether it'll be tech fragments or credits or what the conversion rate will be. But just historically, we know that they whatever they convert it into, even if it's slightly useful for the new one, like if they do turn it into tech fragments, it's not going to be at a very good rate. So not exactly, don't worry too much about holding on to command points. 60, let's see. There are going to be, those tokens for creating a character who's above level 1. The new ones are going to be 60 and 70. So basically it's 60 if you want to do Kopfi Kotet, and then 70 is going to be at the start of Osis. So right now it's 60 and 65, start of Kopfi, start of Kopfi, start of Kotet. Instead it's going to be now 60 and 70. So it'll be start of Kopfi Kotet and then start of Osis after Kopfi Kotet. So that'll be pretty cool. We do know that Jakaro is going to be coming as a companion in some way, and he's going to have a cybernetic arm on him, which is pretty cool.
That's so sad too.
Yeah, and it was not his droid's arm, it's not C2's arm or anything like that. They discussed it, but they realized that because he's a Wookiee and he's so large that it wouldn't fit. It'd have to be bigger, or else it's going to look like puny on him. And then they are starting to do crafting on the PTS. I didn't actually get into that, but but I was pretty excited to see that the crafting is going to be there. The one thing I did crafting wise, because I wasn't really on it long enough to do it completely, is I did go to the fleet at one point, and I picked up, because you actually have to spend the money to get to open up from 600 to get to the new level, which is 700 actually, and so it's actually an extra 100 instead of an extra 50. Which is kind of different from that it's been for a while. So I didn't get to max out any of that. There's if you go to the Jawa junk traders on the fleet, there's you can get some random recipes and stuff like that. So there's going to be some fun stuff in terms of that, but I didn't actually get to see that. And then the amplifiers was kind of interesting. It was still very basic. It wasn't prettied up at all. It was very basic text with these white blocks and stuff like that. So it's very much just barely gotten onto the PTS at all. It's not in any sort of final form. But I was able to try recalibrating some of the amplifiers that I had, which was kind of cool. Yeah, and you can. There's actually just a bunch of different ones. There's even one called Unlucky, and it doesn't give you any bonuses. And I assume that there's going to be an achievement or something for it, but I don't know exactly how that's going to work. That was kind of cool though.
I already deserve that achievement. So.
Yeah, exactly. The rerolls that you get even from vendors when you do a random piece of gear that looks at your current gear, and the amplifier is kind of like that too. It actually changes each time. And there's a bunch of interesting ones because it wasn't just I don't know, I was expecting the amplifiers to be very, very basic, in terms of a little bit more damage or a little bit more defense or whatever, but instead it was kind of specific. You can get more healing but only from tech abilities, or more healing from force abilities. There are ones to help your companions with their crew skills, and specific to one crew skill sometimes. And so there was definitely a wide variety of kind of unusual amplifiers, which is kind of cool. I kind of dug that.
That encourages knowing what your healers are in your group.
Yes. It would.
Yeah, and also I'm sure lots of these amplifiers will encourage you to actually think about things, and actually as a training tactic, if BioWare is training us to play correctly, that's really educational, actually, as the amplifiers are telling you to pay attention to things that maybe previously only people who thought about that stuff would think about it. That's right.
So they showed Onderon, the royal family capital, the hunting lodge. So that was kind of cool. And then they did say that the set bonus gear can come from anywhere but has the highest chance of dropping in operations. So that's kind of how there's other ways that they can do things, but because they're trying to stick to the idea that you can get gear from anywhere, but it can have a higher chance of dropping certain places. But, if you're looking for a particular tactical, but you're never going to do operations because you just don't do operations, it's not like you can never get that tactical. You can get it from renowned boxes or maybe from Kaizaiken, 1 week or whatever. So the set bonus gear can come from everywhere, but has the highest chance of dropping in operations. And I did notice a lot of the gear that was dropping in Hammer Station, especially if it was just coming off of like a random, gold star droid or something, because you can get gear that's at level. And in fact, I saw both kinds of gear, like gear that was Hammer Station equivalent from like level 15 or whatever, but it was also dropping gear that was actually level 75. However, the ones that were dropping off of like the regular mobs tended to be like no set bonus, which means they go right into pretty much unless you didn't have something in that slot already, they tended to go right into the disintegration box. So
yeah,
the disintegration box was interesting because you can actually you can then open it up and you can see all the crew skill stuff you've got in there. But it wasn't working like fully in terms of crew skill stuff, because like I tried dropping the crew skill stuff that I just had in my inventory, and that just didn't seem to work. It seemed to work only in terms of like doing the reverse engineering, the disintegration thing, which was so that we'll see how that works out at the end. Let's see. We're going to be talking about that in a minute. And they did talk about a little bit about the New York Cantina, which is upcoming. It's in a couple of weeks. There is going to be alcohol there, but you don't have to be 21 to be in the room that they've gained for it. So you'll have to be 21 to drink, of course, but you don't have to be 21 to be in the room. So that was pretty cool.
I read that sentence so wrong. Will be alcohol there. Don't have to be 21.
Yeah, you don't have to be 21 to be there, but you will
This
have
is
to
where
be to
BioWare
drink.
puts the fun in mode for.
Right.
No, just kidding. That's not how it's going. You have to drink.
All right.
All ages welcome.
There are some cartel market sales that are just starting to come up. Basically, once a week, they're going to reveal a new sale. One of the interesting things about this sale is it's not like the sale is going to go on for a week and then something else will come on for another week. Instead, what's happening is whatever goes on sale this week will just keep being on sale until the end of the sale, which is going to be like mid to late September, until October 21st, actually. Sorry. October 21st. And they did reveal this time it is 50% off character slots and 70% off character transfers. So the character transfers are now, not quite as cheap as that one weird time it was some time ago when it was super cheap, but still 70% off is, pretty darn good. And 50% off character slots is going to be good for me because I need one for the expansion, because I'm going to be making a mirror class for my shadow. It's going to be an assassin, and it's going to be a Nautilin. I can only do one at a time. Actually, I'm getting very close to the actual cap now. So,
but if you think the way that the coupon kind of crowd thinks, 50% off right now means getting two is the same price as if you would have just bought that one.
That's true. Or I think if you decided to go ahead and put some on the GTN, this would be a good time to buy these and then hoard them for a little while, and then sell them when they're not on sale anymore. Because I have noticed, like, if you do like a conversion of how many CCs to how many credits for like ultimate packs, the rate on per CC for character slots, they're asking for like 3 times as much. So they're pretty efficient in terms, assuming they sell for that level. So yeah, definitely consider buying the character transfers and the character slots now and holding on to them. And basically once a week or so, there's going to be they're going to reveal what the next one is. The next reveal is going to be the 16th. And we'll go from there. There was a nice little article called Behind the Scenes of World Design. Their lead world designer, Dave Schramek, was talking with them. it's one of those hard. It's gonna be a little hard to just talk it over. But I did want to touch on a couple of things, and I do suggest you go to SWTOR.com, and it'll show up right on the news page. It's still like the first or second or maybe third by now on the page, so it's definitely worth checking out. There's a couple of nice pictures as well. The lead world designer, which I thought, it's like, what does a lead world designer do? Well, they go into that. On SWTOR, that means I'm responsible, Dave says, for all the narrative portions of the game that aren't cinematics, writing, and world art. So I do area layout. I hook up the writing into our mission editing tool so that if the mission is to talk to a person, that person exists in the world to be talked to. If the mission calls for a fight, I hook up the character to fight, assign abilities, and even assign combat music. That's pretty cool.
That's neat.
Yeah, and I've noticed like there are certain fights in the game that automatically start combat music. Like for example, just recent, on Rishi, which is what I've just been doing. When you do the Kowakian monkey lizards, and you have to talk to the monkey lizards, and usually someone says, "Hands off the monkey lizard."
Yeah.
And then you do the right one. The door opens. There's a red there, and it always goes to the fight music. Da 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 da.
Yeah.
And this is Dave. Dave does this, so that's pretty cool. If the mission calls for an item to be looted, I make sure the character or object in the game has the item, and the item has all the data you would expect: icon, text description, a usage ability if it calls for it. And if you're clicking on an object, I assemble the various art pieces into an interactive object called a dynamic placeable, which mostly means it can be clicked on and go into different states, like crates that open when you click on them, and then there's stuff in there when you loot them, but the stuff is gone once you've looted the object. That's pretty cool. So
he makes sure that we have a world to walk around in, that the characters are there, that the items are there, that the quests are actually completable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So especially a lot of like mission stuff. Like whenever you're doing mission stuff, you're pretty much going to be doing stuff that he's been involved with, which is pretty nice. Let's see. Is there anything unexpected about what a world designer does? What any of us does in world design has changed over the years, but because we're BioWare, the thing that never changes is that storytelling is central to what we do. When we populate an area with ambient NPCs or enemies, they're interacting with the world. As you move deeper into an instance, the enemies spawned in the world go from chatting with each other or using a computer to pointing guns down the hallway, because by then they're expecting you. If the world changes because of something in the story, like explosions going off as you escape or alarm klaxons, that's a thing we do. If notes from a writer says that the character is an arrogant underworld businessman, we create an appearance for that NPC that hopefully reveals those aspects of the character. So one of the favorite things I did was for the smuggler mission chain on Coruscant. The smuggler is invading a gang HQ to rescue a slicer named Kixi. When they get to the door she's behind, the door is locked. When I created the door panel, I made a custom use ability where the smuggler pulls out their gun, gives it a twirl, and then shoots the panel. And then I named the ability Unlocking, so that's what it says on the cast bar. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
So, and there's a little bit more to it than that, but and I think people should definitely read that, because there's a lot of interesting stuff just about how the game comes together, and like what goes through with creation of different aspects of the game. So I really like that. In terms of in-game events for September, I thought this was kind of interesting because we are going to get the Rakghoul Resurgence on Alderaan. Well, actually, we did get that.
That's over now.
Yeah, that's been over.
Right.
But the cool thing is that starting today, we have this pirate incursion, and it goes from the 10th to the 17th, and then after a week off, the pirate incursion comes right back. So we're actually going to get the pirate incursion twice, not in a row though. There's gonna be a little downtime, but we are gonna get it.
Well, they can't incur for too long.
Exactly. I guess that last time when they did it 2 weeks in a row, they get pooped out. So now they've demanded a week in between.
They're not salaried, so
no, but they are unionized.
Yeah, but if it's not lucrative, they probably are just going to sit where they are and not get into all these battles with Sith and Jedi.
That's right. So the second one's going to be September 24th to October 1st. And and as a reminder, you don't have to be end level to do Pirate Incursion. Anyone over level 20 can actually do it, which is pretty cool. Let's see. So then there's a pretty big drop that Eric did about Spoilers War changes on the PTS Phase 2 that's going on. There is... like, they're basically going through like all the feedback that they're getting and just making changes. Progression through item ratings. Since the system now looks at your current item rating when determining loot drops, this is creating a friction point where you may be getting held back by one piece of gear. For example, you're wearing full 270, except for 1 or 2 pieces, which brings your average I rating below that to 268. This situation will cause a lot of the gear that drops to be 270 instead of something higher, meaning a lot of drops aren't actually upgrades. We agree that this can be a frustrating experience, and so we're addressing this in 2 ways. We are adjusting the item ratings that can be dropped in some content so that you're more likely to get a side grade or upgrade than you did previously.
Oh.
We also agree that you're not getting enough loot to begin with. So we're going to be increasing the number of drops you get from all content, so more chances for upgrades and more tech fragments. What do you think about that, Doc?
Well, you said side grades in there, so
yes.
You lost me for a second. I think it's really good they're paying attention to this, because the whole idea that you have 90% of your gear at a certain level and the game is just stuck trying to get those last 2 pieces, but somehow is failing to get you those last 2 pieces too.
Yeah, exactly. And especially if it's not specific to those 2 slots.
Right, and also we're talking about 270 gear, so this is not really important gear either.
Right. This is just a stumbling block to get to the end game gear.
It's a major stumbling block for people who are gearing at the very beginning of the expansion. So I think it's really great that they're addressing this, because if they fix this, then it will lead to a lot more fun for people. Because gearing up is a major part of that progression feeling. Even if you're not aiming to play hard content, it's part of what we do. Like we've been trained by all the games we've played that have a RPG style to want every 25 to become a 26 and every 100 to become a 105. So it's really important not to get people stuck, especially on levels of gear that don't make them feel fulfilled anyway.
Right, yeah, exactly. 270 is the stuff that's dropping like right at the beginning. It was the stuff dropping into Hammer Station for me, and I was doing it like right around the time of this that these changes were about to go into effect. So I was feeling the effects of like not getting a ton of drops, especially from just regular mobs. Hardly any of those would actually feature drops. It was mostly just credits or just nothing at all. And something that I've been kind of thinking in the back of my head, and it seems more and more like it's going to be a thing, is if you get an upgrade and it's completely useless for you, like if there's a tank spec, you get a tank drop, but it's 272 instead of 270, I will likely have in my inventory a highest I rating in slot set that I will then put on before I open any renown boxes or do anything with the vendor on the fleet or whatever. Anytime there's going to be times when you're doing a fight, you can't put on this, this offset gear, because you got to get through the content, and so the drop is going to be the drop. But when it comes to like opening boxes, you're going to want the best chance you can get. And I think that's going to involve me keeping like best in gear slots just so I can throw the tank item on, just get that eye level up as high as you can so that it'll actually give you stuff that is actually going to be an upgrade. I think that's going to be a thing. That
actually is not the worst thing that's ever happened to the game. Like, I play a sorcerer, but I heal and I DPS. I mean, I don't really heal anymore. But I do, like I can. And so I respec before opening command crates all the time. You know, I just have turned it into a game where I try to respec and move all my moves in 45 seconds or less and just see if I can do it. And then I open my crates. And then if I know the next time I play, I'm going to be a certain DPS style madness or lightning, then I'll just set it right back because I don't need the DPS gear because I've done the Osis stuff as a DPS. So then it's all about these random things. Can I get healer pieces? And so the toggle there, I mean, it's later in these notes, so sorry to spoil it, but the toggle that they're going to put in that decides what it is we're opening will actually make that 45-second or less game useless. I won't have to do that anymore because I could just set it to healer and then the box is open as if I'm trying to be a healer. But in the random play of flashpoints and things, if your tank does not need that tank piece and that tank piece is 2 gear levels higher than what you're wearing, take it and throw it on when you're opening a box.
Right. That's
right.
Yeah,
absolutely. Do that, everyone. Tip of the week. Dr. SWTOR won the M83R droid pet code or something.
Right. Speaking of respecking, I did notice on the PTS, I haven't mentioned it because I've been thinking so much about the gearing stuff, but the utilities were slightly changed. So you know how right now there's you need two, and there's 4 like windows.
Yep.
With options for each, and you have to get at least 2, at least 4, at least 6 before you can get to the last ones.
Right.
Instead of 8, there's going to be 9 in 3 sections. And
that's great. Will you be able to see all of it without scrolling?
Kind of, yeah. I think so. I seem to remember that. But more importantly, like, this means that, like, yes, you get one more, so you'd think, oh, well, I'll have exactly what I want. Except, like, some of those utilities have been moved around a little bit because there's not 4. It's, it's been wiggled around. Some of them might have been dropped. Some of them might be, higher, technically.
So you compare them together differently.
You compare them together differently, and you will have to probably in some cases. So it's going to be interesting to see, like, for every spec, like, how is this going to affect what I can do with the utilities? Because I noticed, like, there was a combination of 2 that I was having. It was like, where's the other one? It's like, oh, okay, it's different. We're gonna have to figure this out.
I'm looking forward to that. That's gonna be fun.
Yeah. So, like, even though there's 9, so on average you're probably gonna be better off. But yeah, because of the way things are gonna have to be wiggled around into those 3 slots instead of 4 slots, you might not be able to do things quite the way you were, which is interesting. Let's see. Higher difficulty content not rewarding enough. I wouldn't know about this because I was just soloing Hammer Station. It was pretty easy. But basically they are looking at, making sure that there's a larger difference in the number of drops between the difficulties so that running Veteran, for instance, feels more rewarding than Story. Too many drops not for me. In general, seeing a lot of feedback that there's too much gear that's not dropping specifically for you. For example, you may feel like you're seeing more tank drops than you would like, given that you're playing DPS. Or that the group drop at the end of your flashpoint dropped for a power tech, and you were a group of 4 sorcerers. Some of this is intentional. In a system that can only look at exactly what you're playing, we had concerns that it may limit a player's ability to gear for an alt. To alleviate that, we set a % of all your personal loot drops that should not be tailored to your spec, while non-personal group drops don't take the group composition into account at all. From your feedback, it sounds like we lean too far in that direction. So 2 changes to the player test server, which have been done by now. First, they have increased the percentage of personal items that are tailored to your character. You can still get items that are not for you, as we do want some amount of items that are available for alts, but that percentage is quite a bit lower now. Second, the group loot drops will now look at your base class to determine what drops, and that means you won't get something for your. That may mean you may not get something for your currently assigned spec, but it will be relevant for someone in the group. So there you go. And the Kaizyken vendor. Some of the concerns we're seeing is that the tech fragment cost is too high. I wouldn't know because, like I said, I did it on his downtime. Unfortunately, I was out of town at the time when he first came online. during the long weekend. A desire to have expanded inventory to include left side gear and weapons, more items in general, or even a static inventory for purchase. Our intention is that Kai is meant exclusively as a supplementary system. If you feel like you need to look to Kai as a primary mechanism to get gear, then we believe there are clear problems that we need to work out with the rest of Spoils of War. That said, we are absolutely exploring a number of great suggestions that we have seen for Kai improvements. For now, we're going to hold off on changes to him. So yeah, so they're still looking at that, like what the cost is and what they're going to be, letting him have.
I haven't got to interact with this vendor at all, but one thing I'm hearing from people that I've played with over the years is that I guess all the different parts of the gear that you get from him are randomized. So the system we're in, what the mods and enhancements are going to be for different pieces of gear.
Right.
And we're used to looking at, I need this piece of gear, and when you get it, it's a complete package.
Right.
And apparently things you get from this vendor have a very good propensity to have terrible mods and enhancements. So that now you have to side grade them in order to enjoy the piece of gear.
Okay.
So, is that the final build? Probably not. Maybe a little bit. I think that fixing him completely will undermine the longevity of the system. So perhaps fixing him the way that we mean when we ask for them to fix him is not something they would be keen to do.
Yeah. Okay.
It's part of the thrill of the hunt.
That's right. As far as amplifiers go, we're hearing concerns around the randomness of the system and it being cost prohibitive. Well, I can understand the concerns about the randomness because there's a lot of amplifiers in the system already, and so I can see like if you're doing the re-rolls and the price goes up every time, that would get pricey pretty soon. And especially like if you're not at end game gear, you're not going to be keeping the gear that long. So how many credits do you really want to spend?
Why would you re-roll it if this is gear you're not going to spend a month with?
Right, exactly. Well, the first re-roll is like 5,000 credits, so I mean, it's not that expensive.
It's like a fourth of a heroic, chill. Talking about credits like they're an unlimited commodity.
Yeah. But they are looking at that though. They also did notice though that if you get a very similar like piece of gear and equip that, it's essentially a reset button for the price of the amplifier on that. Like if you re-rolled a bunch of times on a piece of gear, never got one that you're really happy with, but it was getting too expensive, but then you get the same piece of gear, you just equip that one instead, and you've got a reset on that amplifier roll. So there you go. Okay. And they're also increasing PvP rewards, and there you go. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see like how this all shakes out. But let's see. He did more recently, just a couple days ago, he did do a short thing on the next PTS patch and future changes. Well, it's not that short actually, it's pretty good, but so that was the original sort of big change that they're doing right at the beginning of phase 2. This is more just a few days ago, and this is sort of like mid phase 2, although they're, like I said, they're extending phase 2, so it's not really the end of phase 2 yet. Let's see. The TLDR is that gear will now drop only for your current discipline. Random vendor will now always give upgrades with proper targeting. And we are adding supplementary vendors that sell set bonus shells and tacticals for tech fragments. So that's pretty cool. This all sounds like really, really nice. Gear for my main only. As stated in the previous post, we want to ensure that players had some capacity to gear off stats or alts while playing. Your feedback has made it clear that getting gear drops that aren't meant for your current character is frustrating, so we're changing it. We also want to give you the choice to get alternate gear as well, so here's what we're changing. All personal loot will now only look at your discipline. All group loot only looks at your base and advanced classes. This is in today's patch. We are going to implement a toggle on your character portrait, which will allow you to select what discipline you want the gear to drop for. So you can actually change that. And let's see, I have to actually move some of this. The random tech fragments vendor's intention was to be a supplementary way to get gear that would help you protect you from a streak of bad luck. Since the vendor is also random, it is leading to frustration where you use the vendor seeking an upgrade and instead it is either for the wrong spec or too low of an item rating. Which makes sense, because that is what the vendor's for, because you're taking all this, like, you've already gotten all this random gear that you've decided is trash. You've trashed it. You've gotten these tech fragments, and then you're giving it to a vendor who's giving you something that's not even an upgrade, or
it's
is for the wrong spec.
It's like a pawn shop or something.
Yeah. It's a little nuts. Yeah, so any item purchased from the vendor will now always be of a higher item rating than your current character's currently equipped rating. This is not by slot, but the average displayed on your character sheet. So once again, I'm going to be having those best in slot numbered
grab up that tank gear, chill.
Yeah, it's like if it's higher but it's tank, it's at least going in my inventory. It's not going to get destroyed right away. This means the best use of this vendor is to spend fragments on whichever item slot has your current lowest item rating gear, which makes sense. This would effectively guarantee an item rating increase for that slot, unless you're at max item rating, of course. For example, if your currently equipped boots are item rating 270 and your character's average item rating is 274, and you buy new boots from the vendor, the new boots are going to be above item rating 274. So it is going to be an upgrade, therefore.
Upgrade. I like that word.
Yes, that's a good word. Just to reiterate, the random vendor is intended to be a mechanism to help address vertical progression, meaning your path from the start of 75 to max item rating, to address concerns about horizontal progression, such as getting the exact sets or tacticals you want, read on. Working towards specific drops and not random ones. Although the underlying system of spoils of war is there, it is clear that there needs to be a mechanism to work towards getting the exact items that you want. Our intention is that this type of system would need to be supplementary, but the current solutions we have in place are not enough. I want to add some clarity to a system that's already in place to assist with this. Each content type will drop specific gear types, depending on difficulty. For example, the final boss of Master Mode flashpoints have a 100% chance to drop from a pool of mostly tactical items and some set bonuses for the group. They don't only drop in flashpoints, but if you're targeting a specific type of drop, you can hone in on it by running specific content. To be clear, daily areas, conquests, flashpoint operations, vendors, crafting, and PvP will all have these focused loot drops. Now we may need to focus this more so you have more control over drops, so please keep the feedback coming on that front. Also, as a reminder, there are just bonus drops in addition to all the personal loot you'll get, which can also contain any set and tactical item. So yeah, they're definitely realizing that by exploding the horizontal gear, some gears doesn't even have set bonuses, but different set bonuses, the new tacticals and all that, they're kind of realizing that it makes it really hard to actually hone in on something you actually want specifically. And so the vendor actually, I think, is kind of important on this, but it's nice that you can actually go after it. Like, if like a tactical tends to drop from the end of Hammer Station or whatever, boom, you can run Hammer Station a few times and hope you get it that way, and it'll be a lot higher chance than if you just keep going for renown boxes. All right. And then there was finally a little note here on the next PTS patch timing. This came out just today. Quick update on the timing for Phase 2 PTS based on his post that we just talked about. We will likely have another patch this week. Will solely contain changes for Duxon, so the operation. If you are helping us test loot acquisition on the PTS, take a breather. The list of changes we posted about last week are coming, but most likely not this week. It is our goal to get a patch up, hopefully early next week, which will contain everything, so you can all help us test those changes in earnest. And he will share the details on timing once they have them. So yeah, so in terms of the drops that we were talking about, that they're looking on changing, like how the drops are working, that is the plan, but they just haven't put it on the PTS yet, and it's probably coming out in this next week or so. There we go.
Yeah, we gotta give them time to do their homework.
Yeah. So yeah, so there's still always going to be, you know, in with this sort of system, there's going to be a lot of random loot. There's going to be a lot of disintegration. That's just that's just how it's going to be. The question is, you know, will we as players be satisfied with like the amount of drops we get, how fast we get them? You know, since there is a lot of randomness, you know, how easily can we get the gear we want from like the tech from the vendor, doing it, you know, slot by slot, stuff like that. So, and it sounds like they're kind of realizing that, yeah, we're with this much randomness, these many slots, these many potentials for gear that's just not going to be an upgrade for people. There has to be, you know, ways for people to be able to hone in on things. And I do think the vendor is actually going to be a very important one when we're going to be gearing up.
Yeah, it's been designed that way.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and it's good that
it works.
Yeah, and I'm glad that they're going to make it so that the vendor will be giving up actual upgrades, like guaranteed upgrades. Like even if it costs a little bit more than they were expecting, maybe they had priced it on the assumption that it was just going to be random, and now since they know it's going to be an upgrade, they bump the price up, or maybe they don't. I don't know. But even if they did, it's probably worth it because at least we will have a vector towards like, okay, you know, for whatever reason, I've been playing, you know, I've been playing for a long time, and I still have not gotten a single like offhand or whatever. Well, okay, time to go to the vendor, get an offhand, and I know it's going to be an upgrade. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And Sarnor in the chat says it reminds me of Diablo 3. There's a lot of loot in Diablo 3.
Right, and you're not trying to experience this long-term relationship with the gear. You're probably going to wear it for 7 seconds and get something else.
Right.
So that system is very effective at doing some of the things that seem important to this system.
Right. All right. And did you have anything else, Doc?
No, I'm all done thinking about spoils of war for an hour at least.
Okay. Excellent. All right, then. That's a show. If you'd like to play with us in the Utini Knights Guild on the Republic side of the Satil Shan server, or in our Guild on the Empire side, do a /C join Utini to join the Utini channel. Then let us know you're a fan of the show. You can email questions and comments about the show to OotiniCast@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter using @OotiniCast. You can find contact details for all of us on our website, OotiniCast.com, which includes how to subscribe using iTunes, Stitcher, and the rest. We record the show live bi-weekly on Tuesdays, usually at noon Pacific. Go to OotiniCast.com/live to find out how to join in. Our theme song is Doomsday by Jean-Paul Zogby. And thank you to the chat room. And Doc, we'll have to see if we can get the list of people next time. There we go.
Yeah, we have a good list of viewers. It's just not viewable.
Yep. All right. So we'll see you next show. Alrighty, so let me go ahead and thanks everyone for coming. And yeah, I'll be putting up the video as soon as I can on YouTube, and I'll be doing the editing tonight, and it will go out as a podcast tomorrow like usual. So thanks for coming, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, everyone.
All right. Stopping the stream.